Hi everyone, and thank you very much for joining us. Today is the second webinar of this series on QuickHelp. We had one earlier in July, really about what is QuickHelp, all the solution benefits to customer. And today, this session is really about how to pitch, how to learn the talking point, and really how you can present to your customer. Today I have with me Todd. He's a partner success manager at Brainstorm. He's really helping customer and partner to onboard in the solution, position it, and so on and so on. And I'm Cyril Courrée, product manager at SherWeb for the business application. This webinar is recorded. We will send you the link in a couple of days, and also we'll send you the slides in a bit different way that we used to do. So you will get the slides, but you will get all the talking point that we bring today. Here, our job is to equip you and really go to market and sell this solution efficiently. So our agenda today, it's really how to identify those sales opportunity for QuickHelp, how to identify people that need e-learning, and how to position it, and really how to start this conversation. You're going to see it's a very easy one. There is some tips to bring it, and we're going to share that with you. We're going to present you how to run a demo and present to you some of the collateral that you can reuse. And also we'll present to you some of those new features that they are now including in QuickHelp. Reporting functionality that's really going to enable you to show the value to your customer and show the impact that QuickHelp had on their business. So that being said, I give you the mic, Todd, and share your knowledge with us. Thank you, Todd.
Okay. Hey, thank you so much, Cyril. And thanks everyone for attending this webinar to learn how to better position the QuickHelp learning platform with your customers. We'll certainly take the approach of discussing, best practices and talking points surrounding QuickHelp, but more importantly, we want to show you how you as a technology partner can better demonstrate your value to your customers by justifying the technology and licensing that you've recommended and deployed. Your customers are banking on some kind of return on investment based on your suggestion of Office 365. So the end goal isn't necessarily to drive usage of the QuickHelp platform, although certainly that's important, but QuickHelp actually helps us to achieve our goal, which is driving change and adoption. The ultimate goal is to change the way users work. And so customers are taking your recommendations on software and licensing because they're hoping it's going to change the way they work for the better. And so QuickHelp is here to obviously drive that change and show the return on investment and justify the solutions that you have recommended, ultimately solidifying your place as the go-to partner in their organization. So as we're going through this information, envision you're the one, delivering this information to your customer. Hopefully you'll be able to grab some good nuggets of information and how to best, position this. So kind of picture yourself in thinking how you might deliver this as we go through and provide some of these suggestions. Okay, so obviously we want to start on how to identify sales opportunities for QuickHelp. So in terms of targeted organizations, certainly any organization using Microsoft Office 365, especially if it's an organization that deployed Office 365 without any kind of adoption plan, I can almost guarantee you that they're struggling with adoption in some key workloads. And then of course any organization deploying Office 365. So that's probably the number one reason QuickHelp is introduced, is there's some kind of a change occurring. They're moving from on-prem to the cloud, they're moving to Office 365, they're nervous about that change and adoption, and so that's typically probably the number one reason when we're introduced. Although of course any organization struggling in adopting Office 365, so maybe you helped them deploy 6 months ago or a year ago, and there's certainly some things that maybe they're not taking advantage of. Maybe they're deploying a new workload. Maybe when you originally helped them, they only cared about email and bringing email into the cloud. Now they're ready to start to experiment with Teams or OneDrive or SharePoint. That's a great opportunity to start to implement an adoption and training plan. And then, of course, any organization looking for training. So it doesn't necessarily even have to be Office 365. So the QuickHelp platform is an open platform that can accept third-party content. So maybe they're looking, to roll out some compliance training, through HR. QuickHelp is a great platform to be able to deliver that, and maybe the Office 365 content maybe is pushed to kind of a secondary role. So lots of opportunities and lots of different organizations that can certainly take advantage of the platform. Okay, so what's the best way to kind of start the conversation? So for me, the easiest way to start the conversation about QuickHelp is to discuss how technology is changing at such a rapid pace, and it doesn't appear to be slowing down anytime soon. When you look at Microsoft just last year alone deploying 60 new features, 150 plus that are in the queue right now to be deployed. These constant iterative changes that are occurring with Office 365. That gap between what users know about their technology and the rate at which technology is changing is only getting larger. So that skills gap between users and technology has really never been wider. And studies show that the average user really only knows about 13% of an application's capabilities. So that's certainly a lot of underutilized technology, and not a very good return on investment, especially when you as the partner are perhaps recommending these technologies and licenses. Other things to speak to. So the other thing that we're seeing is that users are using technology, or today's technology, the same way they were using it 5 to 10 years ago. And the issue is they just don't know any better. Users just don't know what they don't know. If they want to communicate with someone on their team, they're going to send an email. If they want to communicate with someone in another department, they're going to send an email. If they want to communicate with someone outside the organization, they send an email, with maybe an attachment. So today there are more effective ways to use technology to collaborate and communicate, but users just don't know, again, what they don't know. Other talking points, and to identify the need for training are organizations experience what we call shadow IT or duplicate applications. So for an example, one department thinks they need a specific application to do their job, so they kind of buy that in a silo, not really realizing that there might be a similar application and functionality in their Office 365 suite. And we've seen that time and time again, as many as 6 duplicate applications in an organization that Office 365 can help to alleviate. So it's difficult for departments and teams to collaborate with one another if they're using all these different tool sets. Not to mention the extra expense. You can save them a ton of money by identifying these duplicate applications, and allowing them to eliminate that that licensing perhaps. So unused Microsoft technology, duplicate applications, not really understanding today's technology. We call that the high cost to low technology adoption. All right, so how do we do it? So these, the biggest organizational challenge to change is an unmotivated user population. I mean, users just don't love change, and I'll lump myself into that category. We're not lazy. We just don't like change. Change can be painful. So most users in an organization are resistant to change, but that's also the largest audience and where we can affect the greatest change. And so that's why we built this platform. We had to change the way that we approach that unmotivated user. So we do this by doing all we can to personalize the training to the organization and even down to a specific user's role if we can. We want to make that content as relevant as possible to a specific user. So to attract those users in the platform, we obviously need to engage with them. So the worst thing you can do is just send a link to a portal, one time and expect users to do this on their own. It's just not going to happen. So QuickHelp is a platform that helps to engage with the unengaged learner through what we call an engagement engine. So it lets users know about assigned content. It reminds them of assigned content that needs to be completed. It promotes live training webinars and recommends other content as well pertinent to their role. So the ultimate goal, of course, is change. So without change, the learning doesn't really matter that much. If users don't decide to apply what they learn, nothing is really going to change with them or within their organization. So the one thing you'll notice in the platform, if you haven't already, is what are called challenge questions. So challenge questions will actually ask users to perform certain functions while they're going through the training. It'll tell them, okay, stop, now go ahead and go in and log into your O365 tenant and bookmark your app launcher. And then it'll ask them if they did it, and they'll have to reply yes or no. And so we're actually asking, and challenging the users to perform tasks to engage with their software. Okay, so how do we attack this? So here's a few talking points that seem to really resonate when obviously talking about the QuickHelp platform. So the first is the ability to scale, with the rapid changes in technology. So obviously with these rapid changes in feature sets and technology, we need a platform that is going to scale with these changes. So instructor-led training is great, but it's hard to scale that, and it's expensive, and as soon as you get through everyone, something changes and you need to do it again. But there certainly is, definitely reasons to do instructor-led training, but again, it's difficult to scale. So the content in the QuickHelp platform is made up of thousands of assets, and most of these are, short bite-sized videos, 1 to 3 minutes in length, so very consumable, but there are also lots of, PDF documents, poll questions. We talked about challenge questions, graded assessments. So all of this content is organized into courses and skill paths that can be easily assigned and consumed by users. There are also live facilitated events in the form of webinars. So we offer dozens of live 30-minute webinars each month that users can register for and participate in through the QuickHelp platform. Users can also chat with a live facilitator and have their questions even answered in real time. So the neat thing is there's no additional cost for these events. It's all part of the platform, and this is a huge area to focus on with your customers. So it's an online learning platform with on-demand content, and it does have an instructor-led training element as well. So that's pretty huge. So as you can imagine, it's a large task keeping all of this content up to date. So probably half of our staff is dedicated to content development and creation, and it's a huge undertaking to ensure the content is up to date and relevant, and that any new content is there for those early adopters and new technologies. So there's content for every Microsoft productivity application under the O365 umbrella. So Skype for Business, Teams, OneDrive, SharePoint, Delve, Sway, your Office client, Outlook, Word, Excel, PowerPoint, OneNote, you name it. There are literally thousands of assets. It's taken us, years to create the native content that can be found in the platform. So as was mentioned earlier, it's not just a library of assets that we point users to. So the platform is designed to engage with the user. So from that first welcome email they receive to weekly assignment reminders, to suggested content, we don't wait for the user to engage. So QuickHelp will certainly engage with the user. Organizations can also assign content, based on a common objective or goal. You can assign content to specific groups or teams or by department or job role. So you can get pretty specific in terms of how you'd like to make those assignments and what content you'd like different groups to see. Reporting and tracking, this is obviously a big deal. So it's available to see if users are consuming the content. Are they completing the training? But most importantly, is it driving change? So we can not only see QuickHelp usage, but also we can now, as of late, also see their O365 usage. Is it actually moving the needle in the organization? So again, the goal isn't to get users to watch necessarily the training. That's kind of like a phantom goal, although it's important. It's really to change the way they work, and ultimately, is it moving the needle in their O365 usage and consumption? And we'll look at some of those reports a little bit later. So finally, one of the features in the platform designed to engage users and drive them into the platform is gamification. So users can earn points and badges and see where they rank with other users in their organization, and it's been a great motivator to get users to engage with the platform. So those are a handful of talking points, and I know as we're going through this probably seems like a ton of information, and it is, but just as a reminder, so you'll get access to these slides. there'll be notes on each of these slides, kind of going over the talking points, so that you can certainly have that as a resource as you're talking it over with your customers. All right, so so the obvious benefits, driving productivity, driving that adoption, increasing the ROI, by driving adoption and usage of the software they purchased, from you, and which in turn increases your value as the technology partner. You're basically helping them, see the value of the technology. Decreasing security risk. This is huge. So there's a basic user security skill path that I recommend be assigned to all organizations. It discusses security essentials, phishing, malware, ransomware, how to protect yourselves and your organization. It probably takes about 50 minutes to complete. So they would have to dedicate a little bit of time, but I think there's two skill paths that I think for every organization should be default. One is the Welcome to QuickHelp skill path, which is just a few videos showing you how to navigate through QuickHelp and how to use QuickHelp, and the other is the security skill path, so that users know how to protect themselves and their organization. Limiting support expenses. So obviously an educated user base, requires less support. So, certainly, discuss these benefits and, in terms of what QuickHelp can bring. And just a few stats, that show how learning just one skill can translate into real time and dollars saved. Obviously with several users in an organization and multiple skills learned, it can add up to a huge ROI for an organization. All right, so let's shift gears here a little bit. Let's dive into to an actual demo and what that might look like. So as mentioned previously, there are quite a few resources that you're going to have access to review best practices and demonstrating QuickHelp. SherWeb has created a demo document in your partner resources collateral, and there's also a full 20-minute recorded demo that you'll have access to as well. And then I believe this is being recorded, so there's going to be lots of opportunities for you to watch and rewatch, examples of how to position and do an actual demo of QuickHelp. Okay, so I'm going to shift gears here, and actually even before that, let's go ahead and start with even a welcome email. So let's, where I like to start, is kind of walk through what a typical user experience might look like. So again, as I mentioned, the platform engages with the user. They're going to receive some type of a welcome email, something similar to this, letting them know that, hey, they have QuickHelp. Typically, even prior to this, we recommend that an email go out from someone within the organization, like an executive or someone in management, someone that users are familiar with, basically introducing QuickHelp. It helps if QuickHelp is introduced first, or letting them know that it's, users know that it's coming by someone in their organization. A lot of times if they have no idea it's coming and they see an email from a platform they don't recognize, a lot of times it's really a lot easier for them to disregard it. So hopefully this welcome email is the second notification they received about QuickHelp, the first one coming from someone internal in their organization, letting them know that it's coming. Okay, so I'll log in here. All right, first thing user is going to see is a 15-second intro video. Just one of our trainers here. I'm just going to pause that. Just again, introducing QuickHelp, welcoming them to the platform, and giving them a little bit of context as far as what they're going to see and be able to do. All right, next thing is what's called an intake survey. So the user is going to be asked to complete a few brief questions. It might take 2 or 3 minutes to complete the entire survey, but we want to obviously know their name, and depending how QuickHelp was originally set up, it may have already brought this information in automatically. So it might have their name and their department and their job title. If not, the user can certainly fill this out and even upload a photo. This is important because there is a little bit of machine learning built into the platform. By looking at their department and their job title, we can probably identify some content that other users and other organizations with similar job title and department are using, and we can start to, recommend that content. All right, we want to know how familiar they are with certain applications. So, how often do you use these? Have you ever used them? So I'll go through and just kind of, forgot one there. Okay, and then what describes you as a worker? So again, finding out kind of how I work. Do I travel a lot? Do I work remotely? Do I mainly work from the office? Do I manage the people? Do I manage processes, or I don't manage people? And then in terms of the technology that I use, do I mainly just work on a desktop or a laptop? Do I also use mobile devices, or I don't really rely on technology as part of my job? So all of this goes into, again, kind of tailoring that experience for the user. So a couple of things are happening right now. One is when this QuickHelp tenant was originally set up, there was some information on the back end that was probably assigned to users. So there's typically something that you want to send out to everyone, and you want to assign to everyone that's pertinent to everyone in the organization. Also, based on how I answered those intake survey questions, it may tweak that for me a little bit more. It may reorder maybe some of the assignments, or it may remove some of the more basic content if I said that I'm a heavy user of Outlook, for example. Maybe some of the first-time user content it might remove, and I won't have to watch that. I'll just watch something that's a little bit more, a tad bit more advanced. So it's basically telling me, hey, based on the organization's learning objectives and your role, we've identified the courses, and go ahead and get started now. All right, so I can click on that. It's actually going to, the very first time I log in, it's going to drop me right into my first skill path. One other thing you'll notice is that I've earned my first badge. So we talked about gamification and how I can earn points and badges. And when I get to the home screen here, we'll show you a little bit more about that. And actually, let's do that. So let's shift gears. Let's go to my home screen so I can take a look at what has really been assigned to me and how I can kind of navigate in the platform. So again, we'll start off by the company standings and the points, so I can see how many points I have, where I rank with others in my organization. It's been interesting to see how this has really driven users into the platform and having them consume more content because they want to rank higher than the person sitting next to them. And so it's great to have that kind of competition sometimes within organizations, to drive that kind of positive change. Okay, the other thing is you'll notice at the very top of my screen, most prominent is the content that's assigned to me. So there are various skill paths that my organization thinks would be beneficial for me to watch. So maybe it's an Office 365 migration, and we're also going to be launching Teams and OneDrive, and so there's some content that's that's been assigned to everyone in the organization. So to understand a little bit of the anatomy of QuickHelp, so at the most basic level are assets, and we talked a little bit about that. So there could be a video asset, could be PDF documents, it could be a challenge question or poll question, it could be a graded assessments, or it could even be a live event. So all of these assets are brought into the platform, and then what we do is we organize those assets so they're in a logical manner so that users can consume, and we put those in courses. And then what we do is we'll group some of those courses together into what we call skill paths. So that's what you're seeing here is the actual skill paths. So you'll see that the OneDrive for Business skill path has 4 courses. The Office 365 skill path has 7 courses that I can consume. Now, the other thing about anything that's assigned to me is that this is the content that is deemed most important in my organization, and so this is the content that I will be reminded of if it's not completed. So in terms of that engagement engine, every week I'm going to get a reminder email as long as I have not completed this content. So when I complete this content and fully consume it, it'll actually disappear from the assigned to use section here. But let's dive in, just so you can get an idea of kind of what these skill paths look like. So I'm going to jump into this Office 365 skill path. And again, you can see all of the different courses that are available. And the neat thing is you can see how long each course will take. So I can kind of have an idea in my mind, you know, how much time I want to dedicate maybe per day. And then it even shows me the total time it would take to consume all of the content that's currently been assigned to me. And so I can start from the beginning, you know, I can open up a course and I can begin. So let's jump in just so you can see kind of what this is going to look like. So most courses will start off with one of our instructors with just, you know, what we call kind of a 30-second talking head. So it's an instructor letting me know what I can expect to learn in this course, you know, to give me an idea, you know, right out of the gate if this course is going to be applicable to something that you know, that I'll certainly feel I need. Let's jump to the next asset here. So right out of the gate, right in this course, you'll notice that it's saying that hey, we have a Learn the Basics of Office 365 event that is part of this skill path. We'd like you to register for a session that aligns with your schedule. So this is where we start to get into those events that we talked about, those live events. So I can go through and I can look at the you know, different dates and times, and I can say, great, that one fits with my schedule. I'll go ahead and register for that. It's going to send me an email reminder that I can drop into my calendar. And then when that event occurs, I'll get a reminder about it. I can click on that event link in my reminder and it'll take me right back to the QuickHelp platform, and that's where I'll participate in that live event. So right out of the gate, you know, we have these live events that are built right into the skill paths that pertain to the specific skill path that I might be watching. All right. So next, we want to find out again a little bit more about how familiar you are with Office 365. So it's going to start to ask me a couple of, you know, poll questions or a poll question. You know, what's my confidence level right now working with Office 365? You know, have I ever worked with it before? So I'm fairly low, or do I feel pretty confident? You know, how comfortable do you feel about saving your files in the cloud? So it you know, it starts to gauge, you know, again, my reaction, my feeling toward some of this technology out of the gate. Now, the reason it does this is because when this skill path is complete, the very last course, it's going to ask me similar questions again. And so the idea being, we want there to be a delta. We want there to be a change in terms of if I said I don't feel comfortable now, but now that I watched the training, you know, maybe I'm an 8 now, whereas before I was a 4. You know, how many messages a week do you send with attachments? You know, and I'll go through and just quickly answer some of these poll questions. All right, now moving on. Now we start getting into to some of the assets. So here's a 1.5-minute video on navigating Office 365. Next, you know, a challenge question. So watched a video, listened to, answered a couple of polls. You can see I've even earned a new badge because I've started on my path to learning. And it's saying, hey, log into your Office 365 portal page. And then it's going to say, hey, you know, did you do it? You know, now that you're here, you know, you're going to want to get here again. Recommend you bookmark the page. Did you do it? So we're asking them to basically take action in their portal and starting to get to know the platform a little bit more. We want to get their feedback. You know, how do you feel like, you know, this will utilize you? And this is all content that's captured in the platform that we can go back and look at later, and I'll show you some benefits to that in a little bit here. All right. A little bit more training. One of the things I want to point out is resources. So there's a lot of times additional resources attached to maybe a specific asset or video. So it might be a PDF document, it might be an HTML link to somewhere else in the platform, or even outside the platform. All right, and I'm going to skip ahead a little bit so we can get to what we call the checkpoint. So this is where, now that I've gone through and I've completed and watched several assets within a specific course, it wants to reinforce my learning. So it's going to ask me several questions based on some things that I've learned. And I'll go through and it'll give me a score, and I obviously didn't do too well. 33%. But the neat thing is I can go back and I can retry that assessment, because obviously the ultimate goal is learning. We want users to know why they missed it and ultimately learn the learn the technology and learn the functions, so they can go back and retry and make sure and they understand why they missed it and understand the correct question. All right, so let's go back to my home screen here. So one thing you'll notice as well is pervasive throughout the entire platform is this search bar. So QuickHelp is it's a great tool to be able to utilize as performance support, or if you just have a quick question. So maybe an organization or a user is new to Office 365 and they hear rumors or this buzz around OneNote. They hear other organizations they're in a meeting and they see other users utilizing this technology called OneNote, and they want to go in and know what OneNote is. So I can do a search, and it'll tell me, oh, there's a couple of OneNote skill paths. There's even an event around OneNote, or a couple of events. Using OneNote to organize your world. There's even there's an event for Office 2016 that must speak to OneNote, and then some additional OneNote content that I can watch. So search is pretty powerful. And again, that's pervasive throughout the entire platform, so I can search at any time. Okay, so let's look at some of the other things on the home page quickly. So we talked about assign to you, upcoming events. So certainly as I'm going through a skill path, there may be an event that it's asking me to register for. There may be other events that I want to know about, or I'm curious to see what other events. So it's showing a few here. I can go to view all, and that'll take me to the events page, and I can see all of the events that are upcoming that I may have interest in. So it's like, oh, OneDrive, I've been curious about that, or want to learn more about that, or navigating Windows 10. As an organization or a partner, you actually have the ability to even share some of these event pages or announcements with users. So you can push an event reminder, to a user if it's something that you feel like would be important for that, for that organization. Okay, other categories. So a lot of times we're called the Netflix of learning, just because of the tiles and the different categories here, how it's really easy to kind of get around and navigate. So other assets that are popular within my organization. So, here are videos that others in my organization are watching. I can go in and see if that's also applicable to me as well. Okay, so one other thing I want to show you, just so you can understand kind of the breadth of the content. So there is a menu on the side here. So again, I can go through and I can go to that events page. I can go through and I can look at all of the different skill paths. So again, here are the skill paths that I've been assigned, but maybe I want to go in and see what other skill paths are actually available. So I can go in and I can go to my skill paths page and look at that content. Maybe if it wants to load, there we go. So here are all of the different skill paths that I have the ability to go through, and there's anywhere from 1 to probably 5 or 6 courses in each of these skill paths. So everything from Teams to security to e-discovery, Word, Excel, PowerPoint. So lots of content. All right, last thing I want to show you is, we'll go back here to our side menu, is the content. So this is essentially the file structure or the repository where all of the content lives, all of the raw assets, and then of course all of the different workloads. So as a user, I have the ability to go in and see, wow, there's 146 assets around Microsoft Teams, and I can click into that topic, and these are organized by category, and I can go in at Introduction to Teams, and I can see all of the different assets, whether it's a PDF document, a question, or just a video on Teams. So I can go in even down to the raw content and take a look at that content there. So those are some great talking points about QuickHelp. Again, showing the user, or the organization, some of those benefits in terms of assigning content, the skill paths. Again, certainly showing them, about live events and the poll questions. the challenge questions, then of course the the graded assessments as well, along with the the company standings. So okay, let's switch gears and now move to the admin side. So while we're here, we're looking at the user portal. And you can decide whether or not you feel like this is something that you want to show the user. They may not be interested in this. If you're 100% managing the portal, they may not need access to the admin side, but just you can understand and kind of see that as well. Let me move over to the admin portal. So a couple of things that are very useful on the admin side. One is the QuickHelp usage dashboard. So this is where I can go in and I can see user activity. I can go through each day and see how many assets users have watched. How many total users are in the system. How many of those users have accessed QuickHelp. How many total views have they watched over the last 30 days. And so I can organize this by time. I can export a lot of this data. So if I want to export this and go in and drill down into individual users to see how individual users are doing, I can do that. If I want to see my top users in an organization, I can do that as well. So lots of good information in terms of how they're, certainly how they're using QuickHelp. This is where you also have the ability to customize the platform. So maybe an organization isn't using certain workloads and you don't want it to confuse their users. Maybe they're not using Yammer. You can go in and you can hide, or unpublish the Yammer content or the project content or whatever it may be. And just a couple of clicks, and so that content will now be hidden in their specific environment. You can create different groups of users, and this is actually how you assign content is through groups. So you can assign it to everyone, or the default system group, or you can create specific groups of users and assign content to those specific groups. Communications. So as mentioned previously, there is an engagement engine built into the platform. There are automatic emails that go out, but maybe you want to send some custom communication or some custom email. We have dozens and dozens of templates within the communications tab that you can use to send out what we call, quick tips or launch tips. Here's a communication on on Skype for Business and a specific feature in Skype for Business. And you can send that out to users. Say, hey, did you know that you could do this in Skype? And here's a 2-minute video that you can watch. So you can send out many of those types of communications to a user base, or you can even create your own. All right, so skill paths, we talked about those a little bit, how they're made up of groups of courses. This is where you can go and you can either publish or unpublish maybe some of these skill paths. So maybe you want to hide certain skill paths, that perhaps aren't applicable in an organization. And then user journeys. Think of user journeys as the assignments that you're creating. So you can go in and you can create assignments, and again, make those assignments to specific groups or everyone in the organization. And then the last thing in the admin portal I want to show you is the settings tab. So settings is where you're going to be able to configure a lot that has to do with maybe user management. You can set up single sign-on so that users can automatically authenticate just using their O365 credentials so they don't get stuck behind a login screen. And then graph. So Office Graph is where you would actually go in and be able to sync the QuickHelp tenant with their Office 365 tenant to do a couple of things. One, it's where you could actually import users that way and manage users. And you also have the ability to sync the usage data, the O365 usage data, and we'll look at that pretty quick here too. So just a quick overview on the admin portal there. All right, let's shift back to our slide deck here, and let's talk about reporting and measuring success. So there are a few different ways to measure if QuickHelp is actually having an impact. And I kind of call it the good, better, best approach. So the good is the first thing to look at is are they using QuickHelp? So what does their QuickHelp usage look like? I showed you kind of that dashboard where you can go and see that. And that's real easy to see in the admin portal that was just shown previously. Are users completing their assigned content? Who are the top users? So seeing QuickHelp usage is good, but it obviously doesn't tell the whole story. We're not sure if we're impacting change yet. So the better approach is maybe some anecdotal evidence or stories from the users themselves. So as you saw, there are poll questions throughout most of the skill paths in QuickHelp, and these poll responses are captured in the platform. Now you have the ability to go through and dig in the admin portal and export some reports to find a lot of this information. It's a bit challenging and a little bit time consuming, but however, upon request, we can actually build a custom report for you, and we call that an insight report. So insight reports show real user feedback that users have left in the platform while consuming the content. It can tell a compelling story, especially to an executive who's trying to justify, maybe the purchase. So for example, here's some information from a sample, insight report. So, after using QuickHelp, 95% of users said they were more likely to use OneDrive for business in the future. 97% of users said the security skill path was valuable. While learning QuickHelp, users increased confidence in Windows 10 by 29%. What are users saying? Hey, about certain applications. SharePoint is efficiency, effectiveness, and productivity all in one place. What's their feedback on the QuickHelp platform? 85% of users say that QuickHelp content directly applies to their work. 90% say QuickHelp is easy to navigate. So this is all feedback from one organization. Users report that QuickHelp saves them 32 minutes each week. We can even get into information to help eliminate duplicate applications. So users reported 2 different file apps being used across the company that could be replaced by OneDrive for Business. So, one of the questions probably asked, in a OneDrive skill path, are you using anything similar, to OneDrive? And users said, yeah, we're using Dropbox and Box. So you can get that kind of insight and information and provide that to an organization. Information on events. They've attended 20 events. Reported saving 14 hours, per year per event attended. How likely are they to recommend events? So some great nuggets of information that will pull from that data, and we can provide that to you so that you can share that with with your customers. Okay, so the best way, and this is brand new within the last couple of weeks, it's actually still in beta, is something called a graph report. And so while insight reports offer that great anecdotal, that user story support that QuickHelp is actually working, the graph summary report gives that actual hard data. So it's actually going to show the Office 365 usage data over time and compare it with users that are using QuickHelp and users that are not. And there's also an ROI calculator to show real dollars that are being affected by adoption. So let's take a look at this. So for example, here's an organization with 234 O365 licenses and QuickHelp licenses. So about half of those users have consumed content in QuickHelp. So the other thing we can see is a usage comparison between their inactive QuickHelp users. So here's O365 adoption across specific workloads based on users that haven't used QuickHelp. And we can also see adoption of their active QuickHelp users. And as you can assume, there's a significant increase in O365 adoption when users are engaging with QuickHelp. So let's look at some of these numbers. So like in SharePoint, there was almost 21 percentage point increase when they're utilizing QuickHelp. Teams, 10 percentage points, 24 with OneDrive. Skype, we even made a dent in Yammer. They weren't using it all before, but now we've got at least a few users in there starting to use Yammer. So that's a pretty compelling story. I mean, this is real data showing how QuickHelp is driving change and adoption in an organization. So what does that mean in terms of ROI? and real dollars. Well, over the last few years, Microsoft has commissioned Forrester Research to determine the value of Office 365, and they were able to attach a value to users in an organization based on several criteria. And I won't go through all that criteria. I'll allow you to read this later if you'd like, and you can see that there on the left-hand side. So users were categorized in two different ways. They were either initialized or they were optimized. So to be initialized, you only need to take action in one O365 application other than Outlook. So you only had to take one action to be an optimized user, and it couldn't be an Outlook. Everybody uses Outlook. So to be an optimized user, however, you need to take at least 25 unique actions in at least 4 applications. So this is why you'll notice that there's a much higher value attached to optimized users compared to initialized users. So the goal, of course, is to reduce this ROI gap. So this is this is currently where an organization is, with their net present value, comparing their users and how they're utilizing Office 365 compared to where they potentially could be. And this is essentially the difference. So, one of the things that you'll be able to do with this information is basically target specific users who haven't taken action in certain applications and create a campaign, targeted to those users. So as I mentioned, this functionality is still technically in beta. It's still being tweaked a little bit, but it's going to have a huge impact on being able to show those real dollar numbers to an organization and really showing how QuickHelp can move the needle. So hopefully you're able to capture a few nuggets there on how to best position the QuickHelp platform. So with that, I'm going to turn it back over to Cyril to go over some additional resources for you.
Thank you very much, Todd. I think you did a really great job at showing, all these application and really I think the demo is a big part of the way to sell it. I really think that what you presented is really the approach, really like everybody needs training, everybody is asking training, and I think you did a good job at sharing, those kind of tips. I really think that the continual learning is the key when you present QuickHelp. And when you speak with a customer, and for some of them, cloud is fine, but paying a monthly and so on, maybe sometimes for customer, it's hard to see the value in Office 365. So when you speak about Teams, when you speak about SharePoint, they get it, but the return of investment, if you don't use those, it's pretty bad. Let's be honest. If you buy Office 365 and you just use your email, you're not doing a very good deal. So you being a partner and being able to share the excitement and all this productivity, I really believe the continual learning is key, because even if you get this suite right now, you are not going to use all those apps on day one. There is in your business, it's taking some time to get people to start to use it, figure out how you want to use it. For example, here internally, we use Teams. It took a couple of months for the different team to figure out how to use it in the way that was efficient. So the continual learning, I think, is really one of the key. So like Todd said, we build a bunch of content. The idea here is really to equip you. We know that when you're a partner, it's not easy to add a new product. It's always a learning curve for yourself. It's some time to figure out how to position it, how to sell it. So really worked hard to share with you all the knowledge we had, because we use QuickHelp internally. We went through an implementation ourselves, and we're selling that to a lot of partners. So we got a lot of feedback. One of the first collateral that you have is really the product pager. So we made it in different formats, white label, gray label, so it can be ready to use, or just you can put your logo and make it personal. So really, this pager is about sharing the benefits, sharing the features, and create a bit of excitement just to go to the next level. We built an email template, really with a strong fact, really doing a wake-up call to your customers. And the fact we use is that 15% customers are using 15% of the functionality of Office 365. So again, a kind of electroshock of, hey guys, you got the most powerful productivity suite. Let's use it. I'm going to help you. I'm going to equip you. The other one are the slides. So more or less the one that you see today. They're ready to use. Gray label. You can add up your logo if you want, but it's really the main slide with the main talking points. So even without knowing the solution, you could do more or less a presentation that does just make it. Best practices for configuring QuickHelp. Again, a gray label document ready to use. You can just send it to your customer or keep it for yourself. But there are really the 5 best practices to configure it. Practice number 1, like Todd says, send an internal email saying that QuickHelp is the new solution that we adopt. Configure the whitelist of your Exchange server, so you're sure that email are not spammed. And all these kind of small tips on how to configure SSO, how to configure Office Graph, all those things that will make the experience better. Then the last document is really a demo walkthrough. So here we give you the steps that Todd presented more or less and the talking point around that. So keep this file in one screen, I'll share your other screen and really go through those points without really being an expert on the platform. The next collateral we're going to bring, probably beginning of next month, it's what kind of managed services you can build around. Because let's be honest, licensing is pretty good on this one. You are making, it's a $3 US, your cost is a $2. So pretty good compared to other, let's say, cloud licensing. But if you want to generate more revenue, the way to do it, of course, is managed services. So going to send you some propositions. So charge for an onboarding. Here are the steps, and here the estimate of hours you can charge. What Todd presented at the end is very exciting. The usage reporting, it's massive, and you can use it with QuickHelp, but also you can tweak in it some other way. So being able to show to your customer that he could leverage and get way more benefits, but by engaging his user, saying, "Hey guys, we invest in this solution, use it." You can really make a difference. And really, again, this challenge at all partners that we have, we want to be sure that our customers see an added value coming out of our services. And I really believe on those one you can do a lot. And everybody believe in training and learning. So I think it's an easy sell and easy to add some services and value. So the next step we propose to you, it's really visit the partner toolbox and review those resources. Maybe before to go through that, let me check the QA. So we got a couple of questions that I answered during the webinar. Just let me see the one that we have left. How can I get stats on QuickHelp improve? So that was covered. How do you address this in a demo? Okay, we're good on that. One question was how to justify training used to be a one shot, okay? It used to be a one event. So how to justify the ongoing? And I think that we covered well that with the continual learning. I think we're good on that. Now I think all question, I might address you directly if your question weren't answered. So really on the next step that we have left, equip your employee with QuickHelp. If you don't know yet, we have a norm for resale discount for partner. So on the top of the partner price list, you get another discount, and QuickHelp is really, really cheap. If I don't mistake, it's going to cost you $1.30, something like that, per month per user for your internal use. So really equip your end user. Learn how to use Teams yourself. You will be even better to sell it. Download the different content, contact your account manager, and of course, start positioning QuickHelp to your customer. And we're really here to help you. So you have my name, you have my contact, you can book me anytime, book your account manager. We're really excited about this product, and we really want to help you to be able to position it and be successful with it. That being said, I think we have our contacts, you know that, and then maybe accelerate event. I'm not sure you heard about it, but we are running our annual event this year in Montreal, October 18 and October 19. 2 days of key session on product, how to sell, sharing the roadmap of SherWeb, and really trying to meet you and really exchange and building this partnership. Like we need you to be successful. It's really we work together. So if you didn't register yet, Montreal, it's a great city. So join us, and we'll have a great weekend in Montreal. Maybe a good occasion to have a trip. So that being said, thank you very much for joining us today, and hope to see you in our next session. Thank you, and thank you, Todd, again for your help on this.